program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday, and I guess we're a few seconds late here. I don't know. We had another technical issue.
No, we're
live TV.
Yep,
welcome.
We're on.
So,
live.
okay, we're
on.
on.
Live worldwide. Welcome, YouTube viewers.
Yeah, welcome. And again, the battle of the budget.
Yeah, the battle of the budget wages on, and you know it's been a very interesting weekend, and please forgive me, I'm kind of drained. I haven't slept much this weekend, and I've been working diligently on several of the issues currently posed in the city, and how, again, the taxpayer is, getting ready for our game show. So it's very interesting. But I want to read an email that, and this is one of many that we've received at Spindle City Straight Talk. We're going to leave the sender's name obviously anonymous because it's stripped when it's emailed to us. Not that you need this, I suppose, but I wanted you to feel fully empowered and justified in a recall initiative. The recall is very much needed, not only for the now obvious gross incompetence and or political opportunism on display, but for the continuation of decades-long failed economic strategy. Fall River can no longer survive on another period of regurgitated promises premised on the same thinking that has left this city and region totally bereft of the economic advancements enjoyed by King Boston. Further, and the real thought that instigated this email, Jazel is not going to change. I was very patient with him. I gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to learn, to listen, to consider. He simply cannot be trusted to do anything for the city that is first and foremost not in his own immediate best interests. This is one of many emails that we've received, and we've received phone calls, as you know, Chip, and we've heard it in the community. Is this what's going to have to happen again in this city? Can Fall River take another recall?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I said in the last recall that it was an action I feel should only be taken under extreme measures. We both
agree on that.
And we had a mayor that had done some incredibly financially irresponsible actions. The budget was a catastrophe. We were millions in the hole. And all of these things were avoidable because he didn't prepare for them, like the closing of the landfill that everybody knew but him, the elimination of the SAFER grant, collective bargaining agreement, pay raises, which he negotiated and signed the contract for. So, as I said, this is not something you take and, but it's the will of the people. If the people feel that they need it, go for it. We did. I can tell you right now that I'm not the one that's talking about recall. I'm talking about a lot about government, but we're not talking a lot about recall. I'm talking about the city council and the seemingly inability to understand whether anything they do is legal or not. And the fact is that we're going to see tomorrow night. I'm going to the council, and Kathy Anviveris made some statements that were totally false. And I want to see if after my presentation, and mine won't be opinion, I am going to give them documented evidence. I have the video of the meeting right here. I'm going to quote her in my letter, and I'm going to show why many things she said, or virtually everything she said, was absolutely untrue. The fact is that, but I want to see what happens after this. After I give them a court stenographer's recording of every single word verbatim of the arbitration that we held so many years ago on health care. that the then consultant, Cook and Company, had to admit under oath that there are elements of the healthcare system that fall under collective bargaining, 150E. Then if you actually read the law that they always talk about, 32B, 21 through 23, Section 22 clearly states at the end that you have to take collective bargaining and 150E into consideration on decisions. Then you add to that little minor detail that everybody in the city fails to forget. When we renew plans after their 3-year term, it's not the Insurance Advisory Committee that signs the plan. You can't be. It's the bargaining units. And bargaining units that are not on the Insurance Advisory Committee have to come in, every single bargaining unit. Because the reality is the premium is stipulated in their collective bargaining agreements. I'll go into that at length, and I'm going to give them proof. But what I want to see is, after I'm finished proving that everything she said is absolute horseshit, and if somebody's going to call her back before that council and then ask her again to say that only the active people got a 9% increase, not taking into account the non-Medicare eligible that she knows about. And the problem I have with many of her statements, some of them were probably precipitated by her total ignorance of 150E and even of 32B. She kind of flies by the seat of her pants and makes up numbers as she goes along, and also makes statements that ultimately are proven wrong. But I want someone to ask her, are there retirees that got a 9% increase? The answer to that question will have to be yes, in spite of what she characterized initially. I want her held accountable. And I want to know when the City Council of the City of Fall River is going to stop allowing them to change numbers every other meeting or every meeting and never, ever have any consequences for their actions. And then they want people to trust this budget. They want us to trust numbers. It's ridiculous. Writing this letter, I've been preparing it and making copies of the deposition and making copies of laws and it's becoming to the point where it's really bothering me that I have to go there and explain to them. And when a city councilor says, I can't believe that we got this complaint and there's no evidence. So I'm going to tell you on the show, I don't have to provide you with evidence. I sent you that letter, and we gave it to every city councilor as a courtesy and to keep you in the loop for the fact that I was filing a Department of Revenue complaint. The people I have to give that evidence to is the Department of Revenue. But, as always, if any city councilor called me and said, what did you mean by this? What do you have to prove these allegations? I would have gladly shared the information. Don't start saying that, these are unfounded allegations. I've been going before that council for 30 years. There has never, ever been a circumstance where I quoted a number that I couldn't prove. I never made an allegation that I didn't have evidence on. And when you listen to that audio tape, which, by the way, I can't get, even though I requested it over a week ago, so I can review it. When you listen to that audio tape, at the end, you will hear me tell the city administrator, I will be filing a complaint with DOR. And you will also hear her not answer my question because she was talking about something totally unrelated and mixing apples and oranges, as she always does. But the healthcare has been a horror show for years. They hide money, they underappropriate, overappropriate. But it's only a symptom. This is a citywide malady. This is something that we have to deal with every single budget, and every single budget at the following budget we find out that, we actually didn't have enough in this account. We didn't do this. We got plenty of money now. And that's absolute baloney. And, you know, this is one of the problems. I mean, this Herald News article, budget impasse solution, and all these quotes, and CJ, you can start talking, because I'll pick a few out. I mean, some of these things, they had in their own words. Well, you know something, one of them says that they don't trust government. Well, Jesus, nobody in the entire world trusts government anymore. And if there was ever a financial team that couldn't be trusted, it's the City of Fall River's financial team.
Well, you know, Chip, this just goes to show you that no matter what you say, they're always going to question you. And I have a severe problem because you have people like Joe Camara, who at the last City Council meeting said, we're still talking about the past. We're still talking about the past. We're talking about the airport, which I voted to get rid of because I wanted to produce 100,000 new jobs and, or $100,000 in taxes. Guess what? It only just happened. You got rid of that airport back in the 90s, the 80s, whatever it was. And it only just happened, and we're still not producing anything out of it. And that was only done so you could expand the landfill. And we're talking about healthcare again. And when was that? That was when? In the 1980s. And we have a problem then, but we're still talking about it. Well, you know, Joe, here's the thing. And maybe, you're going to hear this quote a little too often. Those who forget history are destined to repeat it. I don't think that it's Fall River doesn't remember their history. I think they ignore it. And because they keep repeating it. Because it works.
Well, it's called political amnesia. As you said, there's a few variations, and if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. But Joe, the reality is you don't live in the past when the past is not a lesson. And yeah, we're living in the past because guess what? In 1991, when the city took over $1 million of employee money, put it in their account and forgot about it, and I am going to produce that newspaper article from 91 with all the numbers from the city administrator at that time, showing how broke we were and all these numbers, all which proved to be totally wrong when the healthcare system was audited by Ernst & Young. But you know something, Joe? You gotta keep talking about it because it keeps happening. Now, what happened? Now, at the end of that arbitration, when they had to give the employees 3 free months of health care and an $18 premium reduction, 25 years ago, $18 was a lot of money in that premium. It was a big portion of that premium. For the rest of the year, for 9 months. And at the end of that arbitration, the city assured the arbitrator that they corrected the mistake, it would never happen again, and guess what? 2009 or 2008, one of those 2 years, it happened again. Misappropriation of money, improper bookkeeping, resulted in another healthcare holiday for the employees of the city of Fall River. So, Joe, you don't want to talk about the past because it reminds you that you didn't learn from it, and you're still allowing it to happen even today. We're talking about health care because the numbers don't add up. They didn't add up in 1991, they didn't add up in 2009, and they don't add up in 2016. So guess what, Joe? If you're tired of hearing it, leave the chamber. If you want to stick your head in the sand and ignore the fact that you can't learn from your mistakes, and you won't mandate that this city learns from its mistakes, well, don't even participate in the discussion.
And that's the problem. Okay, these are the same people that were there when these problems existed. So they don't have an excuse.
Which is another reason they forgot, and they don't want to talk about it. That's by the way.
But the Herald News published some, quotes of all our elected officials way back when, and I think some of them are very appropriate, such as, Fall River faces a number of obstacles from educational attainment to financial instability, and even an atmosphere of mistrust in our elected leaders. Now, who said that? City Councilor Pamela Laliberte-Lebeau. Now, I wonder why the people of Fall River would have mistrust in their elected leaders when they sell their votes for the budget for a school teacher at Spencer Borden. And the mayor and Pam LeBeau went public about that. She wanted that for her child at Spencer Borden, and she got it. And she sold her vote for that.
Well, maybe that's the new way we're going to budget.
I guess so.
It's going to be like, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to put in a really crappy budget, and then each councilor can come in and tell me what they need, and I'll
That's
put
right.
it in the budget, and then you'll pass it.
It's funny because that's the quote. That's the quote. That is the quote. What do you need? Tell me what you need.
That's right. Let's make a deal. Do you want door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3?
You know,
so it's
but it's amazing how they just say how much the people mistrust government, yet they do exactly what they're talking about. You know, then you have a city council saying citizens take to social media rarely use the media to share positive or inspiring events happening in the city. Instead, they complain about road conditions or criticize the city leadership. That was City Councilor Joe Camara again. Guess what? Joe, maybe if you listen to the people, listen to their complaints, there'd be less of it on social media. But it's the only place that they can vent because nobody in city government listens. Nobody. You know, it's craziness.
Well, let me give one of my favorites here from the biggest rubber stamp on the city council, Steve Long.
I was going to say it's got to be Steve Long.
Now here we go. I love it because he blames the people. And even though he's supposed to be a representative.
Right.
Residents' opinion and view of Fall River are perceived as negative. Well, they're not perceived, they are negative.
That's
so
right.
Don't, it's not a perception, it's a reality. That's negative. And yet, we expect government to fix our problems. Yeah, we do, Steve. By the way, that's what you're there for. You love to blame everybody. Oh, the people, they're full of baloney. They can't afford $2 for a purple bag. Well, there are people in this city, maybe not you and your family, who have been part of the political system forever, and you make plenty of money. But there are people in this city. Remember, Steve, when you read the statistics and said that Fall River was the second poorest city in the state with household income, and we had the second highest. I had given those statistics before. They've changed now. We are now the poorest. We now have the lowest household income. And do we expect you to fix it? Yeah, we expect you to make sure that the budget is accurate, not rubber stamp it. We expect you to do the business of the city. Prove to us by changing this city. Prove to us by not having us have the highest unemployment rate or near the highest unemployment rate. Bring some real jobs in. Stop talking about tourism. Bring in containerized shipping. Start doing something instead of blaming the people for your inability to do your job. You're there to move the city forward. Let me see you come up with some ideas to do that, not blame the people and say, oh, it's because you're negative that I'm not doing my job. Really? I got a finger for you, and it's not my index. Okay? So, that's absolute crap. And, this is the same old, same old. The council turns around and blames the public. The public that now ends up with only 37% of the people that live in this city that own property. The people who most of those property owners are on fixed incomes and they're only here because they can't get out of the city. And the other half are the 1%ers, like Steve Long and Kenny Fiola. That's the problem. The problem isn't with the people. Half of these people don't have 2 nickels to rub together. Try to pay your bills. Try to pay your bills with a family of 4 or so when you're making about 30 grand totally. When you work, your wife works, you're working for minimum wage, you got to pay your rent, you got to buy food for the kids, you got to buy clothes for the kids. Come down to BCC when they have the food bank. Take a look. How many people, how many children do we have on the lunch program? What was that stat? 80% or 8, I think it may even be higher than that. CJ?
Yeah, it was
Way up.
They actually changed it, and the city started screaming because under the new federal guidelines, it kind of went down to like 67%.
From
84.
From 84. Well, gee, you know, we got more than half of the children that are in the Fall River Public Schools.
But they changed it based upon
income
statuses or something, and it was just a little crazy. But I think the problem that we have here is that we have a corrupt government. There's a new website, Facebook page, Take Back Fall River. They're pointing out a lot of the issues. I think one of the biggest issues is tomorrow, the city council may try to circumvent the court. Because on Wednesday, the court hearing's at 2 o'clock in Taunton at Superior Court. I got to make that clear, Superior Court, because I guess the Herald or one of the other media outlets said that it was at the district court, which doesn't have jurisdiction. But the city council is only now learning, not like we haven't said anything, not like we haven't presented it to them, but they're only learning now that they have a line item veto. And again, we've spoken about this a little bit, and the budget is a huge falsehood. They are not making any allocations for potential problems. They're not even addressing potential problems. The numbers don't match up. And I have a problem with that, a severe problem. And you know, the same problem exists within this, as we like to call it here from one of our viewers, the sleazy deal. Okay, we've gone over the numbers, we keep going over the numbers, we keep going over the numbers, we keep going over the numbers. And the acolytes of Jazel Correa keep saying, it's a good deal, it's a good deal, it's a good deal. This is not about privatization. This is about money. And I'm trying to figure out how they got $418 for holiday hours. I'm still trying to figure out in this whole kit and caboodle of numbers. And when you start following it, it doesn't make sense. And not only do you have to have an abacus, you have to have a calculator and a supercomputer to keep the numbers straight because they're all over the place. Everyone's saying that this budget is transparent. This budget's not transparent. A transparent budget is, here's page 1. DCM, bop, 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 bop. I don't have to go to page 167 to find the pension and 197 for this. No, everything for that department should be right here within a page or two so I can see it. Just like towns like Andover and Wellesley. You know, towns that have fiscal responsibility. Towns that manage their budgets so the city, so the voters, so the taxpayers can say, that's where my money went. A budget that shows this is what the money was budgeted for last year, this is what we accomplished, this is what we didn't accomplish and why, and this is what we're going to accomplish this year. And this is why we need this money. And the bottom line comes to this. Unlike Fall River, which does this all the time, and according to Mary Sahady, it's acceptable. We do this constantly. They move money from different budgets to different budgets, which means the money wasn't budgeted correctly. It wasn't budgeted properly, which means the budget is a falsehood. If your budget in your house is $27,000 a year, and you only have 26, are you going to move that money from somewhere else? No. You've got to adjust your budget accordingly. You've got to say, hey, I only got 27, and I need this, and I need that, but I don't need this, so the vacation's gone this year. That's how you do it. Not, well, you know, the police department has an extra $114,000, and I can use that over here for mayoral salaries for my friends, so I'm going to transfer that money over to administrative salaries. Okay, and that's one of the things in the budget that people don't know about. The mayor moved his line item from the mayor's office into administrative services. Why? Because now he can move money around in that department without getting approval from the city council. This is a man who, during his campaign, said, we need to work as a team. Yet, his entire administration so far, he hasn't tried to work as a team. He hasn't tried to work with anyone. He's been dictatorial. He has been demanding. He's been tyrannical. Guess what? That is not a team leader.
Well, CJ, please don't don't use expletives on the air. A leader, because this is what the council and the mayor does. They only lead to the political trough where they can all dip and have dinner. The fact is that they don't want to hear that. We hear about how it's the people's fault. We're always complaining. Well, shut us up by doing something. If you move this city and you begin to bring jobs into this city, if you begin to get your numbers straight, where any city resident can walk in and look at the budget and say, okay, I know where my money's going. When you begin to change, and when Joe Camara talks, we don't want to talk about the past. Of course you don't want to talk about the past, because if we look back, and we look back a decade ago, more than a decade ago, we see the same problems. And nothing's been done. And many of the people sitting in those chairs have been taking up space in that council chamber for all that time. So you know something? You're judged on your performance. Don't be blaming anybody else.
Chip.
When you take a job, when you worked in the nursing field, and if you screwed up, you couldn't use as the defense. Well, everybody is always being negative about the
That's
hospital
right.
and stuff, and I can't, I only killed 16 patients this year, so what are you picking on me for? So I mean, this is absurd. I mean,
But Chip,
it's
you're
political
asking for accountability.
Yeah, well, see, that's
Come
what I'm
on.
saying. Another expletive when you talk to a politician. You can't accountability.
Oh, my God.
Consequences for screwing up. Yeah, they got great consequences. They normally get a better job.
That's right.
Leo
Pelletier.
Yeah, you screw up, you get booted out of council, you get a job at the city again. Yeah, now Kathy Ann, the big rumor is she's going to go bouncing over to the housing authority and making $165,000 instead of 100.
Well, it'll be her and Tim McCoy, because Tim McCoy's over there now.
Yeah, Tim McCoy's over there. Welcome to the world of politicians.
Right.
It's like our state representatives, passed that section of 21 through 23 of 32B, which takes away the right to collective bargaining health care, and then people who work 30, 40 years and gave up pay raises and negotiated good health care now retire, and they allowed municipalities to eviscerate health care plans, and the unions have no protection against this thing, because our state reps, who always say they have our best interest at heart, passed this sham, and the city council adopted it.
Right. And the biggest problem we have is that this is not a representative government, okay? This was one letter for a recall. We've received numerous. They want to recall the mayor. They want to recall city councilors. When are these elected officials going to learn the people are who you represent? And if I ever hear again from another city councilor, I'll listen to you if you start respecting me, if you start talking to me the right way. Respect is a two-way street. Listen to me. I'll listen to you. Okay? You know what? You have to listen to us. You're elected to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, and we already know you're not willing to uphold your oath of office, because the law doesn't mean anything to you, then maybe you should resign. And I don't care who you are, because whether you're the turkey lady, Jordan Sylvia, CJ Ferry, Chip Camara, we all deserve the equal right to speak and be heard to the council, the mayor, and the school committee.
Well, stay angry, because we are.
And we always will. See you Wednesday.